Alright then, y'all seen this. Now, this is with a heavy heart, I admit, the one before the finale, so the part after this will be the end of What If Deku Was Framed. So, let's get into it. So, where I last left off, Kaminari has pretty much taken a big boom to the face as, Curious is just laughing, thinking she's won. Kaminari is, dead when they check his pulse, but Izuku just floats over. He's just looking at Curious and Kaminari's body, and, he's just saying, good thing you're not dead yet. He claps his hands, as a giant demon head with the Renegon eyes appears. Its mouth opens as two tongue fleshy, waddy, disgusting looking hands. One grabs Kaminari by the face. The other one grabs Curious by the back of the head, and she's just saying, oh god, no! As, she gets eaten in, and the thing's just munching and crunching. It sounds like metal and concrete are breaking and chipping away. The thing gulps. 10 seconds later, it burps out Kaminari. As, he rolls out. He's covered in saliva. As, he's just like, oh god. That was so gross. As, he just remembers waking up in a stomach and then being, spat out in a burp. And, Jiro, she's, crying as she goes up and hugs she's about to hug Kaminari, and then she's just like, ew. What the... she's looking at Izuku, and just like, what was that? And Izuku's just like, it was like a revenge exchange. Vengeful exchange. You take the soul of someone who was killed, and then their murderer, you exchange it for one another. As long as you do it within a certain time frame, you can pretty much bring someone back to life by their killer's life. They're all looking at Izuku Shikith. Everything's kind of weird. They have to get the explosions under control. Everything's pretty decent. Metal Liberation Army kind of took an L on this one. They ended up losing Curious and a lot of their members, but, they decided to start experimenting with something, a little dangerous. Oh, it's dangerous. Now, this is something called the Black Mercy. A special creature that is kind of like their own Nomu, which is based off of, animals and vegetations. It is based off of these black roses that when, turned into into liquid form, they cause, pleasant hallucinations. While this parasite feeds off of the human body. They're able to change it where this parasite makes you see happy memories, your happiest and most blessed things, and it puts you in this false world while it eats and drains away your life. They're thinking, this is perfect. This will be what they want. This is what they need to beat someone like Izuku, who is a fucking undo Deo Ex Machina button that can just say fuck you and your quirk. So, they're trying to take out Izuku. And, they send it in the mail, and, Deku, he was surprised when, he opens it and he sees it's a package. Not Emily, well, yeah, Emily's her hero name, but Reiko and Eri, they're, sleeping still, so they don't know much. So, Deku, he opens it, and, at first it just looks like black roses, so he's confused, so he has his back turned to it. He's actually in a calm state. He's just happy thinking about, how safe Eri and Reiko are. He has to, talk with Kaminari and Jiro. Kind of, you know, talk with them and see how they would feel if, like, Naruto, not Naruto, Deku doesn't want to say it, but, how they feel of becoming, Aries, teacher, like music teacher. Well, at least Jiro. Because, Aries been, like, super into music ever since their concert. And Deku, he's just thinking to himself, he doesn't want to associate with 1A anymore. But he does, like, think back and he misses, like, the old life a little bit. Like, he checks, he looks at his phone while the screen is black and he can see his reflection. He sees his eyes are different. He has horns. His skin is pale. And, he's just thinking to himself, like, would Mom recognize me if she saw me right now? He's trying not to, but, it's close. It's not too far away from, Inko's birthday, and, her death is already, like, left the ultimate ripple effect on Izuku's heart. I was just doing a Naruto what if, and I'm fucking up on that now. So anyway, it was funny too, because I was calling Naruto Izuku on that one, and now I'm calling Izuku Naruto. So no, normally Izuku would be, fine with this, but, it's just different. Like, the loss of his mother was just something he can't really get over with. Like, he has Eri and Reiko, and he's kind of, like, moving into his own little family, but, he would really have liked, for his mom to be here. He really would have liked his mom to meet Eri and Reiko, have them be happy, be an actual family. He really wanted something like this, but shit was too tough for him, and, he got screwed over. Now, Deku doesn't let this completely destroy or cripple his spirit, but it was enough for him to, be caught lacking when the Black Mercy attached to his chest and wrapped and sunk its vines and proceeded to leech off of Izuku. Now, no one was able to know what what was happening to Izuku when, another invasion strikes. But this one, it was, Redestro and Skeptic mostly. And Skeptic had used his puppet he's like sorcery in a sense with his puppets. But, he's done his puppets and they're all rushing into UA to try and, like, take Eri because, they know her quirk is pretty useful. So, they're invading UA. They're all leaving, but, when they see Izuku kind of, like, stuck there, they're confused. They call Aizawa, and they're, like, trying to pry this thing off, but nothing's happening. Nothing's moving. And, Redestro, with a heavily, like, Bane-esque trigger suit for his stress quirk, to make him, like, 5 times as bad as Bane at his most roided, rage-filled, testosterone, like, berserker mode. So yeah, people are getting wrecked right now. Pro heroes are not doing well. And then the students are being busy with the Skeptic clones, so yeah. Reiko and Eri, they're trying their best to help Izuku while everyone else is, like, leaving and trying to fight. Eri's, like, trying to pull these vines off of him, but, like, the creature shoots out, like, spikes, well, not spikes, but thorns to, out of its tendrils to cut Reiko's hand up to stop her. She screams out in pain. This causes Deku's body to twitch out at least. Like, he's physically reacting, but his body isn't, like, fully in control of itself. He can't move. He knows, something's off. Eri's, like, shaking and pulling on him, like, asking him to, like, wake up, to, like, be back to normal. Come on, Papa. Papa, come on. Papa, you're scaring us. Shit like that. And Deku can't do anything. Like, there's this strange, like, his eyes, you can just see like, a depth of sadness so like unbeknownst to them that they don't know. Like Reiko is like she's only seen this sadness like she's never seen sadness this deep. This is something she doesn't know about. She doesn't know what Izuku is going through. But there's this weird like half like his like the corners of his lips are just curled up like in a semi smile, but she doesn't know what he's seeing. So let's get into Deku's mind and what is he seeing. So Deku, he is 33. Reiko 33. Eri, she is getting ready to go to middle school. She is currently taking her two younger siblings to their elementary school. Reiko is expecting another child on the way. Inko, she stops by. She's like greeting her grandchildren. She's greeting her grandbabies, giving them kisses and hugs. She's all happy. They're greeting her, telling her happy early birthday. All this good jazz. And, Izuku, he doesn't look like a Otsutsuki. He looks like regular green-haired, green-eyed Deku. So he looks normal. Their dog, Bark Choco and Barkago, they're like on the ground, like dancing and jumping around. Barkago is a little Pomeranian, you know. What did I say? Bark Choco? Bark Choco? Yeah, Bark Choco is like this pug thing that has like this like lazy eye, but like on occasions can float. And then there's other like stray like cat in the alleyway that Izuku sometimes feed. He calls it Lydiot. For some reason he just feels like it works. Has this weird little thing on the back of its paws that look like little engines, so Deku thinks it's kind of strange. But since the cat is like, it runs so straightforward, it doesn't really have a chance to like break, so it like runs into a lot of things sometimes, so he calls it Lydiot, like the little idiot. So yeah, Deku, he's just laughing because he finds entertainment in these animals, but they're not mean, like he doesn't really care. And for some reason, when he looks at himself in like the bathroom mirror, like he like jumped back. He's just like, ugh. He's just looking at himself. Reiko, she's out of the shower behind Izuku because kids are gone, so they shower together, my guy. She's asking him, "What's wrong?" And Deku's just like, "I don't know why. It's just I didn't recognize my reflection, I guess. I don't know." He's just like, "Huh, I thought I'd have more white hairs." Reiko slaps him and saying, "Hey, we're not that old. And our kids are great." Reiko in this one, she doesn't have white hair. She has black hair. A simple color. She wraps her arms around Izuku, and Deku, he's rubbing her belly and like he's excited because he has a good family. His family is growing. He hears a knock at the door, and then the door opens. It's Hasashi. Hasashi's saying, "Izuku, Reiko, I brought some more gifts for my grandbabies." They're spoiling their grandkids. Deku just chuckles. He's happy that his grandparent, like, they're gonna be grandparents, so his parents have been nonstop with gifts, and Reiko's just like, "Yeah, my folks are the same." Deku, he's just smiling because his girlfriend from high school, he dated 3 years. He didn't know she liked him. She asked him out like just the first month after school. After the sports festival, and they've been together ever since. Deku has been adamant with his love with Reiko. He could never do anything against her, so yeah. After college, of course, he was like, no, not even after college. After high school, he didn't hesitate. He bought the ring. He married her. They've been married for a good amount of time. They have kids. Eri, she's their like pride and joy right now. They love Eri beyond anything. It's like yeah, their firstborn, she's just so cool. Eri, she has her like combination of will-o-wisp. Her flames are this weird blue purple color that they don't burn her or like her family, but if you're not related to her by blood, you actually do get burned, which was kind of weird. And what I mean, like, Aries quirk in this, like, in this fake world, like, even her grandparents wouldn't be burned by the flames, because they share the bloodline. And you know Deku, you know while he's watching Hisashi and Reiko like do their thing of being like giddy about another child, Deku just hears someone yell "Papa," and Deku, he just turns. He knows that was Eri's voice, but it couldn't have been because Eri sounded like she was just a child. Eri, no, she's almost ready for high school. That couldn't be right. Deku, he shakes his head, trying to shake it off. He's confused on what is happening to him, right? But, he's just ignoring it. He's pushing this uneasy feeling he feels to the side. But it continues on. Deku, he kind of lives his life out with like Reiko just chilling on the couch right now. They're looking at photo albums, and Deku, each photo he sees, he gets the full memory. He remembers changing the diapers, the vomit on him, like the angry moments where Reiko made him sleep on the couch, the moments when they would have, fights and, they thought that would be the end of them, when their hero careers were like really, really unstable sometimes, fighting all these things, all this other shit. He remembers it all. He feels all the pain. He feels the relief that, that wasn't their end, that they're still together. Deku, he's just like smiling at Reiko, and Reiko's just, she's just like, do you want to share what's making you so happy, sweetie? She gives him a kiss on the cheek, and Deku, he's just like, I, I don't know. It's just, he wraps his arm around her, as he's thinking to himself, this is just really good, Now cut back into the real world. This is when Skeptic's army has finally busted through the doors. They're trying to take Eri. Reiko tells Eri to run, as she's desperately trying to fight off these people. Shinzo and Kendo eventually come in for support, but they're being pushed back too. It's just the numbers advantage is so unfair. Those who try, those who think, Skeptic's drones are down, they're destroyed. Nah, he still has more being made, and he's sending in by the dozens. So it's like an endless army of just machines trying to, well, not machines, but like puppets, if you will, just fucking with them. And, they can't really get past it. So, yeah, they see Deku, there's this weird vine thing, so, they're trying to help him. Eventually it gets to the point where, Kendo, Shinzo, and Reiko, they all grab the vines and pulled, able to lift it up just barely, only to get the thing to, spike their hands with thorns, causing them all to scream out. And, at this time, this is when also, like, one of the Skeptic dolls was able to grab Eri. And, at this time, Eri just yells, "Papa, help me, they're hurting me," Deku, yet again, hears this, so he jumps awake. In his fake world, Reiko's just like, what's wrong with you? He looks around and, he's now in like a barbecue-esque setting, and he's just like, what's going on? What's going on? Because, this time the Tenjo's back on him, so it's trying to force him back into its fake world so it can continue to feed. As, it's telling, like, Reiko, Inko, all their family, like, it had been in a whole 3-month time skip, so Reiko already had their 4th child. Eri, the twins that came as 2 and 3rd place. Bronze and silver are there. As Deku, he's confused on what he's seeing. He could have sworn that he was just asleep on the couch. I'm back, sorry. Um, anyway, you know, Deku, he's looking around and, he's confused. He was just with Reiko sleeping on the, about to fall asleep on the couch. How is he at a beach? Like, he's starting, like, as he's thinking, how did all this happen? It just starts auto filling in. Like, he remembers everything. He sees it. He remembers, Reiko, like, damn near breaking his hand with her weird mother strength. As, like, she's blaming Izuku for never pulling out. But Deku's just like, you never let me. Ah. As his hand is, like, being cracked. Is, Eri and her siblings are just with their grandparents, laughing and smiling, not knowing that Izuku's almost like his hand is broken. But yeah, he looks around and he sees, Kendo and Shinzo, and Kendo's starting to show like she has her baby bump. She's like close to their first child. He's looking around, he sees Aizawa and Midnight, their little child toddler is just like being adorable as shit, wearing one of Izuku's green bunny onesies, for his hero costume. Deku, he's smiling, but he's grabbing his head because it doesn't feel right. He can't put his finger on it, but something about this is just wrong. It's not his place. This isn't his world. He hates it. He wants this to be his world. He feels like this isn't real. He knows that something's up, and that's why he feels so uneasy right now. That's why he's, struggling with himself. He then is like looking around, trying to figure out what exactly, is happening. Eventually, like, Reiko in the real world, after, like, she's gotten bruised a bit, she's pleading for Izuku to, at least wake up. This is when, Redestro finally stomps on in. Eri is being taken to him. Redestro's laughing, saying, what Izuku is experiencing now is literally the most perfect world he could ever have asked for. You're literally asking him to give up a dream come true for him. A dream world. His personal heaven. Reiko's, like, arguing you would just put him in a fake world. He's not responding. He can't be happy like this. Nothing he sees is real. But, Redestro retuttles, like, how painful the world is. He knows that, like, he can't eliminate all pain. So, he can still feel pain in this world. He still knows it. He still is allowed to feel everything. It's just that, they have it set up in such a way that everything he could have possibly wanted went his way. And for him, to not want to stay, it's like throwing away your dreams. Like Redestro says, why would a man, like, choose not to die in his dreams? Reiko has no response, and, she thinks this is GG's. Eri, she screams out one more time for her papa to wake up, which, it rings in Deku's ears, Papa, help. Papa, they're hurting Mama. Papa, help, I'm scared. And I'm saying it like this because if I go too much into the child voice, I may end up feeling too much of it, so I'm trying to avoid that. So anyway, Eri, she's begging, she's pleading for Izuku to wake up. And, Deku, he's clutching his head right now. As, he's, like, looking at the pool, and they're asking him what's wrong. Deku, he's panting heavy as, he's starting to remember the real world memories, not these fake world memories. And, he's saying, like, that they need to stay away from him. His head hurts. He doesn't know what's going on. He needs a minute. Just stay away from me. They're all surrounding Izuku as, they all grab and hug Deku. They're all saying, He's just stressed. Don't worry about the stress. You know, we're here. We love you. You're home. You're where you belong. This is what you want. Just look at yourself. Look at around you. This is who you are, what you wanted. And this is where, the trick happens because Deku remembers him waking up as the Otsutsuki. As, he just screams out to stop this. He repels them all. And, this causes them to, scream out in pain. Reiko, she's starting to cry. The kids are crying, Aries crying. Fake Aries just Papa, that hurt. Why, Papa? Why are you hurting us? I thought you loved us. Do you not love us anymore, Papa? The other ones are just saying, Papa, no. We love you. Don't leave us. Don't leave us, Papa. Be here. Stay with us. Stay as a family. Deku, he's literally on his knees right now, slamming his head in the fake world's ground, causing him, fake Deku, to bleed from his forehead. As, they're telling him to stop. This isn't him, Look at what he's doing. Look at what he's doing to his, body and his face. And, Deku screams out at them, "You're not real! None of this is real!" He grabs his, face as he says, "This isn't my real face!" As fake Deku proceeds to rip off his own face, which, snaps Deku in the real world, enough for him to, the Black Mercy screams out as Deku has enough time to shoot out a bone spike and turn it into ash. Redestro, he's about to leave, as, Deku, not even a second later, a portal beneath him, he falls through, and Redestro's arm is just completely crushed by Deku's fist. Eri, she falls through a portal, and she's right next to Reiko. Redestro's kind of surprised as he's looking at Deku. He's just like, "What the? No! Impossible! Where's the Black Mercy?" And Deku's just like, "I destroyed it." He's not looking up. His face is just down. His hair is covering up his bangs even more. Deku, he's just standing there. And, Redestro's kind of terrified right now. He doesn't know what he's feeling. He doesn't know why he's scared. He's just there's something off with this kid, even more than normal. Redestro's just thinking, no, he's probably still fucked up. What we gave him was the equivalent of the ultimate high, and he's out of it right now. There's no way he can be in a good state of mind. He's too weak right now. There's no way he can beat me. And my stress drug suit is just too OP. I won't lose. I know I can win this. He just got a lucky shot. He's convincing himself that he has a chance to win this, but nah. So, Deku, he's not even looking at Redestro. As Redestro says, "Wow, kid, was the Black Mercy not working or something? Did you not see your dream? Were you not happy in that world?" Which, Deku stops. He's silent. He's not saying anything. Redestro thinks he has this moment as, he tries to punch Deku after image. Deku, he's behind him as he's saying, "So, it was you. You're the one who put me through that." Redestro, he's just like, "What the fuck? When did he get behind me?" He does a wild swing, misses Deku, tries to hit Deku again, dodging. Every hit he makes is just after image. Redestro's starting to get frustrated, thinking, "What the fuck is going on? There's no way this kid could be doing this to me. How dare he fuck with me like this?" But, Deku... Deku. See, before, Deku impaled, the Black Mercy, just the last 10 seconds before, as he ripped off his face in the fake world, tears fall down his eyes as, he thinks to himself, please just let this be a bad, let him think, let him, what, please let this be the real world, and what I just saw, let it be the fake world, you know, as he's thinking, this is everything I've ever wanted. This is everything I could have asked for. I remember everything. The struggles, the joys, the love, everything. So, why? Why does it feel so real if it's fake? Why does it feel more painful to lose this fake world than live in the real world? As he's just thinking to himself as, he takes a final glance as, he sees Inko, and he's just like, Mom. Oh, Mom. I wish you were still alive. This makes it even harder. I have to lose you again. He thinks about Reiko, and he's just like, my little Ray, I hope this isn't real. I really, because he's thinking, he had the fucked up memory with Eri and her being abused and all that other shit. He likes this version where Eri's just his biological daughter. He likes this version more. But, in his head, he knows it's fake. So, he's like, he looks at that Eri and he's just like, I'm sorry. That's his little princess still. He looks at his twins. They're two boys. Of course, I'm gonna pause this real quick so I can blow my nose. His twins, Katsura and Maharu, tears are going down his eyes as he's like begging, pleading with himself. He remembers like their costumes and everything, scolding them for their cavities, them accidentally like trying to walk their fish on dry land, the twin shenanigans. And then he looks at his newborn Coda, and he's just like thinking to himself, this isn't fair. This can't be. Like, why does he have to give up this? Why does he have to return to that world? And, of course, this is when he thinks about it. Because in that world, Eri was abused. In that world, Inko did die. In that world, he got fucked over. And he cannot let that go. He will not let anything happen to that Eri ever again. He realizes that if he accepts this, then he's turning his back on the real ones. And that is not something he will ever bother to do. So he has to accept the fact that he's throwing away the most peaceful death he could ever think of. So now, back to Deku, as, he's just saying, what you did. His fists are, like, clenching so tightly that blood is just coming down. Redestro takes a step back because he's terrified. When Deku looks up, his eyes, they're completely different. They're no longer the Byakugan. In his left eye, he has a Rene Sharingan, which is not blue, it's not purple, it's not red, it's not yellow, it's green. Midoriya, a green Rene Sharingan. To his right is, a fusion of the Jugan and the Tenseigan. So, the Black Scalera with a blue-white lotus with black outlines in his right eye. And that's what his eyes are right now. Redestro is just like, what the fuck? And Deku's just like, the only thing like that Deku can admit is that what he had to give up, the amount of emotions that were coursing through his body, he turned it all into power. And that power is what he sees before him. And it's this power that Deku will use to show Redestro that you do not fuck with his world. As you know, Deku proceeds to completely annihilate Redestro. He's not using anything but besides hand-to-hand combat. His blows have more pressure than, the Marina Trench. Each blow is so swift and so deadly, so precise. Like the shockwave behind him reverberates through his entire bones. Even through the armor. His bones are being disintegrated. His muscles are being, turned to jelly. His body is just breaking. Blood vessels are just flooding through his whole body. He's drowning. He's in his own blood. His bones are breaking and piercing through his organs. Deku is just, breaking this man. When he's close to healing, Deku fixes him and does it again. Deku this time, he starts putting more, fun into it. Well, not fun, but creativity into it. He's causing his bones to protrude and spike out as, he's using them like needles and knives to cut and stab into Redestro, healing him right before he bleeds out, and then he's doing this again, but only this time, the bones are heated. They're exploding with flames and melting his bone marrow. Not Deku's, but Redestro's. As Deku stabs him and heats it up, he can feel it melting the bone marrow within him. Now, Deku would be stabbing him, in the shoulder blades, in the rib cage, in, the most bone-heavy places, the hands, the feet, everywhere. Each stab causes, his bones to melt and weld together. And then Deku proceeds to break them and weld them back. This continued on for, 2 minutes. In Redestro's mind, he could not experience anything worse. He's thinking, even with all the scientific ingenuity, all the quirks in the world, there was nothing that could compare to what Deku was doing to him. Deku, he's not giving him the satisfaction of death. Deku is, killing him over and over again, bringing him right back just to do it. Each time, Redestro's body is being broken away. The armor is pretty much gone. Redestro's just naked and bruised, blood constantly pouring off of him. Deku eventually is just he's tired. He's bored of this. He just doesn't care anymore. Deku just, with a pained expression in his face still, he looks at Redestro, and, Redestro's just please, no more. No more. I beg you, show mercy. As, Deku, looking at him with, his two new eyes, tells him that, mercy was something that Izuku Midoriya was born with. He died, and when he, when his mom killed herself, Deku did the same. But, lo and behold, his power decides that he needs to work still. If it wasn't for him, not going through that, he wouldn't have the power that, like he had prior, to save Harry. But, Redestro just doesn't know. Villains just don't get it. No matter what Deku tried, he wants peace. He doesn't like this. There's no point for all this bloodshed. But, if people like Redestro, All For One, Stain, Shigaraki, Curious, if none of you get it, then, there's just no point. Deku then proceeds to create a honey little bone needles, and then just proceeds to shoot them into, all over Redestro's body. Now, these bones are a slow decay one that, not decay, but a rotting one. So, they rapidly are starting to rot Redestro's body. And Deku hit none of the vital points, making this excruciatingly painful. Because, Redestro just doesn't get it still. Deku's looking at him, and he tells him, what Redestro did to him, it was so fucking hard for him to, say, nah, I gotta go back. Because, Deku with tears in his eyes, he admitted he wanted to stay in that world because Redestro gave him back his mom. Redestro gave him a family with his girlfriend. Redestro made it a world where Eri wasn't abused. Where, he had his father, where his friends, they were going to have kids too. It was happy. It was everything he wanted, everything he could have asked for. And he had to throw it away because some fucking pissant doesn't know their place. And you know what? He's looking at Redestro with, his eyes went from, normal back to, the Rene Sharingan and the Tensegan Jogan fusion. As, he's looking at him, and, he's just telling him that, Redestro, this is where he dies. And Deku, whenever he dies and he goes to hell and he sees all the villains that he sent there, he's gonna kill them again and erase them from any existence and any chance of being reincarnated. Redestro, he's fucking terrified right now. He has no idea, if Deku can do this or not. He's just like, Deku, he's about to do the finishing blow when, there's just a small hand on his, not a hand, a head, lays on his back, and her arms wrap around his chest and waist, as, she's just saying, Izuku, please, don't do this. You're only hurting yourself at this point. Reiko, she hugs Deku. She's trying to bring him out of his, killing mode, but it's not really working. But it works. Deku, he doesn't do the finishing blow, but, Redestro still dies to his injuries. Because ain't no way in fucking hell Deku could ever let that man walk away. Reiko, she looks at Deku and she's just like, what did you see? Deku, he's just like, he doesn't want to talk about it right now. And he even admits that he just needs some space. Reiko, she wants to tell Deku something, but then next thing you know, she is through a portal and she's with Eri and Shinzo and Kendo, and they're asking, what about Izuku? And when she goes out the door again, there's no sign of Deku. We time skip about 3 days. Eri, she's cried a little bit because she thinks Papa like doesn't love her anymore. They've looked for Izuku and no one can find him. And you know, this is where Reiko and Eri, they're just walking. They're going to the graveyard. Eri's asking why are they going here, and Reiko's just saying, she just needs to talk to someone. Eri's confused on who it is, and until they pull up to Inko Midoriya, you know, Eri starts asking Midori, that's Papa. This is Papa's name, right? Eri, like with tears, not Eri, but Reiko with tears in her eyes, she's just saying, this was your Papa's mama. And, she starts telling Eri, like, a lot of things that happened to Deku. And whatever that bad man put Deku through, it gave him the same look that he had, when his mama died. Eri, she's even more worried about Papa. She's saying she wants to like save Papa now. They need to save Papa. She's worried about her Papa. Papa needs to be saved. Papa, 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 Papa. Like a Pokemon almost. Reiko, she like breaks, like she laughs a little bit with wiping tears because it's just like Izuku, just more focused on saving someone else. But yeah, this is when Deku's just like, it's okay. They turn around and they see Deku, and Deku's just like, he's been here a majority of the time. He leaves when he has to use the bathroom, but he hasn't really moved from this spot, honestly. Eri hugs Deku and Reiko hugs Deku. As Deku, he's hugging them both. As he's crying, he's telling them he's so sorry. Like, fuck, I don't know what I want to have first. I'll go with Eri. Eri's just first, and she's just like, Papa, what happened? Deku, he's just like, he gives Eri a kiss on the forehead, and he's just like, you did nothing wrong, Eri. That bad man he hurt Papa. He kind of made Papa see some things, and Papa's heart was hurting really badly. Eri, she puts her hand over over her. Eri puts her hands over Izuku's chest, and she's just like, maybe my quirk can help fix your heart, Papa. Deku, he's just like saying, oh, sweet Eri, you and your mom fixed my heart a long time ago. He gives her a kiss on the forehead as, he looks at Reiko and he grabs Reiko by the hand. He looks at her and he straight up just says, Reiko, we'll talk about it, but later. So we'll time skip a few hours. Deku's already gone back. He's talked with, Nezu and all the other shit that's happened. Skeptic has been arrested. He kind of gave up when he heard about Redestro's death and how gruesome his death was, so he knew he was going to get washed. So, Deku, he's with Reiko. He invited Shinzo, Kendo, and Aizawa. And, he told them because, Aries sleeping right now. She's with Jiro and Kaminari, just sleeping. They're watching her for Izuku. As he then explains that what the Black Mercy showed him was a fake alternate world that, Deku explains it was before he got his horns, the white hair, and everything. He still looked human. He said it with like a hollowed expression on his face. He then goes on to explain, like, he even had his mom alive. His father was there. He points to Reiko and he explains how, they had areas their biological child, they had other children, you know, their next set was twins. And like Deku was just like the only person who was more surprised than Deku was Reiko, who, had to push the little bastards out. And then he's just like, and then our fourth child, Deku starts tearing up more as Reiko, she just goes over and hugs Deku. Aizawa, Shinzo, and Kendo are just watching silently, wishing that they can comfort Izuku, but they don't know how to. Deku then goes on to, say, Kendo and Shinzo, they were about to have their child too. You know, since they were Eri's godparents, and, Eri's about to get a god sister, and they were going to be their godparents, and they didn't know about the name yet. Aizawa had his child. Aizawa was just like, I had a child. Kind of happy about it, but, he soon realizes that all this stuff sounded so awesome, and this is what Deku had to do to give up. He abandoned it. He let it go and returned to them, which caused, they can't even imagine what kind of hell that was for him. He already lost his mom once, and now he has to lose her again. But this time, he has to willingly let his mom go. Which, in a sense, is his closure. Because, there is no way she'll ever come back to him. As much as he hates it. Inko's gone. And, Reiko just looks at Izuku. And she's saying there was something that he said that, caught her attention. That, if Deku wants, they can do. Deku's confused. Like, what? Reiko says, you said that we had other kids. She's blushing as, she then says, Izuku, I love you more than anything in the world. And seeing you hurt, seeing you sad like this, it breaks my heart. And hearing what you had to give up, it broke my heart even more. She grabs Deku by the face and looks at him, lifts him up, making sure they have eye contact. And Reiko just says, but just because that world was fake doesn't mean that this world can't have aspects of it. Fucking love this guy. I have to watch that later. Not Naruto, fuck, I screwed myself over. Izuku looks at Reiko and he just asks, wait, what? Reiko, she kisses Deku. That lasts for a good, 5 seconds. She pulls away and she says she wants Deku. Deku had a dream world that was perfect where Eri had siblings. That's not just a dream Deku had. That's something Reiko has. She dreams of having a family with, Izuku all the time. And, if it hurt Deku to, so much that he had to leave that, well, why not just make that dream, just happen early? Deku's eyes widen as, an actual heartfelt smile comes to him. Color starts returning to him just a little bit. As I was not saying anything, the only thing, he just looks at them and he's just saying, can you guys just get married first? This is when Shinzo looks at Kendo and they're blushing because, Deku's saying they got married, they were having a kid. Shinzo and Kendo saying, how about a, double marriage? Which, coming from this, Aizawa turns around, he's just saying, oh, my problem children, no, they're growing up too fast. He's just like, all I have left is my little sunshine grandchild. You know, uh, yeah. Izuku then looks at Reiko and just asks the simple question: "Will you marry me?" She nods. Shinzo looks at Kendo, saying, "Will you marry me?" She says, "Eh, I guess." Shinzo, they start laughing. As this is when she wakes up. She hears the laughter. She's just like, "What's going on, Papa, Mama?" Deku then saying, "In about a year or so, you're gonna have a sibling." Jiro and Kaminari's eyes widen at this because they're like, "What?" Eri, her eyes, like, she's wide awake now. So she jumps up and she's saying, "Yay!" She jumps into their arms and, Deku looks at Kaminari and Jiro and he straight up asks them, do they want to be the godparents? Reiko just, like, gets up and she tells Jiro, you know, get the girls of class 1A and 1B, Kendo, let's go. They're like, what? Shinzo, like, saying, come here, Pikachu. As, he throws his binding cloth to Kaminari, and starts pulling him away and saying, come on, we got a plan for stuff. Deku's about to get up and Shinzo tells him, you sit down. They're like, huh? As Aizawa's just looking at Izuku and just saying, yeah, just relax about this. We got this. Deku's confused. Like, wait a minute. This is my wedding, guys. What do you mean I can't help with this? Yo, at least let me try the cake samples. This is when Aizawa's just like, that'll be next week. And, Aizawa then also says, and if I'm not invited to the cake sampling party, I'ma fail you. Aizawa, you can't fail me for cake. For cake, you know that, right? And Aizawa's just like, you're still in my class and I teach however I want to. Just being kind of a dick, but, Eri, she's just looking at her papa, and she's just so, am I gonna have a brother or a sister? Deku, he just, like, smiles as he just sees Eri, and, he hugs her. And, he tells Eri, he loves her very much. And, he wants to try something. Eri's just saying, what? Deku places a hand over her head, and Eri's hair becomes, like, definite white. Her pupils and eyes change again, where Eri now has a permanent Sharingan. 3 Tamoi that will never reach Mangyukyo because it never needs to. So yeah, Eri was given a Sharingan eyes because Izuku had given her some of his chakra. And, he gives her a small kiss on the forehead and tells her, this is a way, for her to be his kid without being her kid. To signify they're more like each other now. Because her eyes are, like, he shows his Renee Sharingan, and then he shows Eri a mirror with her, like, little red 3 Tomoe ones, and despite Deku having 9 Tomoes, Eri's just like, cool. She hugs Izuku and she's saying, Papa, you're the best, and I love you. Deku just smiles as he holds Eri. Of course, this is when, Kendo, Jiro, and, like, all the girls of 1A and 1B are screaming out their lungs. And Deku can hear this, and he's just like, oh boy. Oh no. Like, he's starting to think this could end badly. But, nah. The girls are rushing down, and they're, like, congratulating Deku. The guys are, like, who were there were congratulating him. It gets to the point where, who do I want it? Well, nah, pretty much everyone's congratulating him. Except, nah, Everyone was pretty much happy for Izuku. You know, they realized the man had a hard life. Let him have this win. And I'm gonna end it off here. The next part, we'll get into the wedding. It'll be the finale of What If Deku Was Framed. And that truly is heartbreaking. Um, if y'all don't know the Black Mercy is a, like, from DC comic books. Look it up. Some of y'all might know it from Justice League, from the comic books, or from, like, the Arrowverse, but I've never seen it in the Arrowverse done. I know they did it in the Arrowverse, but like, I'm not caught up with Flash, Arrow, or DC's Legends of Tomorrow, and I don't care to be. So, Ligma.